Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your 7-day Australia-only forecast, running one day late, but we got there in the end. Let's get into the forecast for you. The red shading showing plenty of places feeling the heat at the moment, that heat pushing out towards the west. But if you're on the southern coastline, basically from about the Eyre Peninsula down towards Tasmania and the eastern side of Victoria, a cooler airflow coming off the ocean for you. And on the western side, low pressure here also driving in a bit of a southerly. There's a big high off to the corner there that's also driving in some cooler air, but really everyone else feeling the heat at the moment. And we've got some severe thunderstorms on the way because we're really at that time of the year. So here is a new animation that we're going to put in for you as often as we can. As we're going into these hotter months, we're going to be seeing more severe weather in the form of thunderstorms. It's a little tricky to kind of show every part of Australia, so we're just going to show you an animation. I suggest you just pause the video, perhaps in the places where you just want to take a bit of a closer look at it. But as we take a look at the next 7 days ahead, you can see plenty of thunderstorms, severe in that red shading through central parts of Australia, and also out here to the east. As we go through next week, more of those severe thunderstorms are possible along the more populated areas out here along the eastern side, clearing through here into the later part of Thursday, going into Friday morning. You'll be seeing this severe thunderstorm risk moving through with a cold front. So there are some risks here, and of course some large risks around Western Australia, but these more populated areas to the east have that risk going into next week. So we'll break that down for you with the daily maps now. So here's how we look on Saturday. This large area of low pressure around Western Australia drifting into Central Australia. So we're going to be seeing, maybe not so much on Saturday, but certainly going into the weekend, we're seeing more and more of these heavy downpours, severe thunderstorms in the mix as well, pushing down further into more populated parts of Western Australia. The wheat belt possibly getting some of those downpours and thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms through there. Otherwise fairly dry across Esperance as well. But like I say, this is drifting eastwards. And so you're going to see a couple of showers over here to the east. They might have thunder in them later in the day, but most of that energy is out over Western Australia. And if you're around Tasmania, westerly winds carry on for you with a few western showers, and they brush the southern coastline of Victoria. On Sunday, we still see a few of those showers down around Bass Strait, the western side of Tasmania, and a few showers along the eastern side here of New South Wales going into the southern part of Queensland. That's because there's a weak area of low pressure in the Tasman Sea, but it is worth keeping an eye on. Meanwhile, in Central Australia, more of those severe thunderstorms are developing, mostly pushing into South Australia, but Western Australia and the Northern Territory also have some risk. It is worth noting most of those downpours are out in the deserts and the outback. It's not quite in so many populated places, but you still see a few showers coming into the south here and still pushing in to the southern coastal parts of Western Australia, and a few more showers, possibly with thunderstorms later in the day around Queensland. All right, to Monday now, that's when things get more interesting. Next week's got a lot more energy in it, really. Now, there are still some very large dry areas. If you're looking at your 10-day forecast, you're probably still seeing quite a few days that aren't looking too wet. But you see here on Monday, severe thunderstorms through South Australia. Worth monitoring. You could be seeing 30, 50, 60 millimetres falling in just a day out there, and coming down to places like Ceduna. Head over to the eastern side, around Brisbane, you're seeing severe thunderstorms, and they sort of trail further out north of Charleville and further inland, all the way up, in fact, even going up towards the Northern Territory. Northern Territory itself, not actually very busy at the moment. There are a few showers further down towards Alice Springs and Uluru, but really not seeing a huge amount in there. So Tuesday of next week, that low around South Australia, that system is sort of falling apart, but you're still seeing severe thunderstorms in these areas here into the afternoon, or just the risk of some heavy downpours. Now, whether or not the Eyre Peninsula gets enough rain is the million-dollar question, because the further south you are, the drier it is, and a bit of a breeze off the sea could keep those heavier downpours well further north, and similar story around the York Peninsula and Adelaide as well. Now we jump over to the eastern side, and plenty more of those heavy showers are forming going into the end of the day and going into nighttime. Severe thunderstorms are possible along this eastern area, especially in these blobs of sort of yellow and gold. That's where you're likely to see the biggest of those cloud buildups, and they stretch inland as well, although not too much for the very north of Queensland. You know, the far north just getting an easterly, humid, warm weather, great weather if you're on holiday at the moment up there. So going through to Wednesday of next week, we talked about that severe thunderstorm risk crossing over the east here as a sort of a slightly cooler change moves in. That's low pressure here coming through. These are southerly winds coming in here from, basically from Melbourne over towards Adelaide and beyond. So it's a slightly cooler change coming through, and on this side, the warmer side. So low pressure in the middle here, mixing that up. Good recipe for some heavy thunderstorms around Brisbane and Grafton on Wednesday, maybe even a few here, well north of Broome, a few isolated thunderstorms as well, but not very much. These are still not high risk for major downpours, but you never know, could get a thunderstorm in there. And by Thursday, that risk carries on here, mostly south of Katherine. Again, not massively widespread, but you do get some rain relief if you do need it. It is coming into the mix there. Plenty of low pressure still in Western Australia. We're not done yet with these downpours and thunderstorms, which you've been getting through the inland central parts of Western Australia now for a number of weeks. I think the rainfall through this central area here, certainly seeing some high totals. But over here to the east, I wouldn't 100% lock this in just yet, especially if you need rain. This low pressure zone, there's another one out here closer to the South Island of New Zealand. These may still merge together, and if it does that, you might find that low being pulled closer to New Zealand. Or the other thing might happen, they split apart further and this one stays closer to Australia. For now, this is not locked in, but there is a risk on Thursday of severe thunderstorms in the southeast and up here between Grafton and Brisbane. A few severe thunderstorms or isolated thunderstorms around Katherine, but this is the main event down here. We still need to lock it in. Thankfully, we're back again in just a couple of days on Monday, and so we can have another look and see what is going on there. But that's just worth keeping an eye on for the later part of next week. So let's now make sense of the next 7 days rainfall, and the totals actually aren't that big. Saw a lot of risk each day of showers and thunderstorms, but when you actually take a look at the 7-day rainfall map, it is not looking overly wet. Large portions here in the pale blue at the bottom of the scale, those blues. If you see blue next to green, it is not much rain. And so you do see a lot of blue next to green on this map. However, green towards yellow, that is certainly seeing heavier rain. And if you're in the red zones, like you see here around the northern part of Queensland, and maybe down here in the southeastern corner of Victoria, not quite as far north as the ACT, but more in that corner down here, possibly getting some heavier totals, seeing up to 60 millimetres or more. Same story here in that northwestern corner of South Australia, and you might even be seeing 100 millimetres in some of these little purple areas, but I wouldn't focus on that too much. Those purple blobs, the heaviest of rain, that's 100 millimetres or more. You do see that also around Lord Howe Island, but they can move very easily, 100 kilometres one way or the other, and you miss it entirely. So just be aware of that. So that is the 7-day rainfall. The flight sim place of the day this week, Leichhardt in Sydney. Right on the, well, here is the airport. There's Sydney Airport. There is Sydney itself. Flying in here, Korean Air 747, Leichhardt, right sort of in the middle here, going over the top of it on the flight path. Beautiful weather there in Sydney for today. Temperatures, maximum 22 to 29 degrees. That 29 or 30 is today. Temperatures drop in the next week. Overnight lows, though, fairly mild, 17 or 18. Chance of a few showers Saturday and Monday, but the main risk in the capital there is on Tuesday. And if you're flying into Sydney Airport today or flying out of Sydney Airport, hope you have a great flight. That is all from me. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again in just a couple of days on Monday afternoon.